There is one cultivator who did something almost impossible. Not once but twice he escaped Han Li's schemes without falling into his traps. He was cautious. He calculated every move. And as a mid-nascent soul cultivator, he believed he had already seen through Han Li's methods. Yet in the end, his death did not come from Han Li at all. It came from a trap, left behind by his own ancestor. Today, we're not retelling his story. We're analyzing why Marquis Nanlong survived Han Li twice but still failed to escape fate. The journey to seek Immortal Master Cancun's cave abode. The cultivation of Marquis Nanlong had reached the peak of the mid-stage nascent soul stage, and his strength was considered notable even within the southern heavenly region. The ancestor of Marquis Nanlong, Immortal Master Cancun, was himself a figure of some renown and had once been hailed as the #1 mad cultivator of the southern heavenly region, as Cancun's descendant Marquis Nanlong was privy to many of his secrets. For instance, he had learned Immortal Master Cancun's unique escape technique, and he also possessed partial intelligence regarding Devilfall Valley. Devilfall Valley was reputed as the most perilous, forbidden land in the southern heavenly region. Paradoxically, the opportunities hidden within it were extraordinarily abundant. With his lifespan nearing its end, Marquis Nanlong set his sights on Devilfall Valley in hopes of advancing his cultivation and extending his longevity. According to the last testament of Immortal Master Cancun, there existed a secret cave abode located at the edge of the Molan Steppe. Within it were not only various treasures, but also a detailed route map leading into Devilfall Valley. Thus Marquis Nanlong and his closest confidant Old Man Yun eventually discovered this cave abode. Unfortunately, guarding its exterior was an ancient, long-lost formation known as the Tai Miao Divine Formation. The two devoted several years to painstaking research before finally uncovering a method to break the restriction. However, this method required 8 cultivators with exceptionally powerful divine sense. To guard against the possibility of betrayal, the cultivators Marquis Nanlong sought needed not only strong divine sense, but also cultivation levels below the mid-stage nascent soul stage. Only in this way could he and Old Man Yun, both mid-stage nascent soul cultivators, maintain full control of the situation. After an exhaustive search, they still lacked one person. In order to assemble the complete restriction-breaking team, Marquis Nanlong decided to attend the Tiantian City trading assembly to seek a suitable candidate. When Han Li arrived at the appointed location, he discovered that, counting himself, there were 9 people present in total. The reason the so-called 8-member restriction-breaking team had one extra person was that Wang Chan could only be considered half a person. He and his Dao companion Yan Ruyan were currently only at the late core formation stage. Only by joining forces could the two of them unleash divine sense comparable to the early nascent soul stage. Among the 9, there were representatives of the righteous path, the demonic path, the heavenly Dao alliance, as well as rogue cultivators. Some of them even had minor grudges against one another, for example Han Li and Wang Chan. Clearly, Marquis Nanlong intended to use the various factions of the southern heavenly region to restrain one another, thereby minimizing the risk of betrayal. What he did not anticipate was that among the 9 people, aside from himself and Han Li, all the others had already been bought off by the Ghost Spirit sect. Even his closest confidant, Old Man Yun, turned out to be an elder of the Ghost Spirit sect in truth. Thus, under circumstances where everyone was effectively an insider, it was inevitable that this treasure-seeking expedition would erupt into open conflict. After immense effort, the group finally broke through the restriction and entered the cave abode. Inside the treasure pavilion, Wang Tiangu, Wang Chan's uncle, was the first to stir up trouble under the pretext of an unequal distribution of treasures. At this moment, Old Man Yun immediately sided with Marquis Nanlong, and even produced a magic treasure demanding a fight to the death with Wang Tiangu. Unwilling to see the conflict escalate further, Marquis Nanlong raised his hand to stop his friend. Unexpectedly, Old Man Yun suddenly reversed his magic treasure, launching a sneak attack that struck Marquis Nanlong squarely in the back. Although Marquis Nanlong was already wearing protective armor, the blow still left him severely injured. Knowing that Han Li harbored deep enmity toward the Ghost Spirit sect, Marquis Nanlong drew him in as an ally. To ensure that Han Li attracted even more hostile attention, he even threw him a jade box containing a precious treasure. Han Li was well aware that Marquis Nanlong was scheming, but with a valuable treasure delivered right to his doorstep, how could he possibly return it? After accepting the treasure, Han Li suddenly activated his Wind Thunder Wings, and in the blink of an eye, killed an early nascent soul cultivator. Seeing that the situation had turned dire, Wang Chan immediately joined forces with Yan Ruyan to defend themselves. Even so, Han Li used demonic phantom slash to sever both of their legs in an instant. Marquis Nanlong had not expected Han Li to be so formidable. Seizing the opportunity while Han Li wreaked havoc, Marquis Nanlong also launched a thunderous counterattack. He brought out an ancient treasure and by himself fought several nascent soul cultivators without falling into a disadvantage. In the end, he unleashed a powerful strike that collapsed the entire treasure pavilion. However, being seriously wounded, he could not sustain a prolonged battle. He therefore used the ancient treasure to trap several nascent soul cultivators, then joined forces with Han Li to break through the restrictions once more, finally escaping successfully from the cave abode. Unfortunately, Old Man Yun had long since planted a tracking mark on Marquis Nanlong. As a result, he had not fled very far before being caught up to again. Fortunately, they encountered a team of Molan spellcasters. Taking advantage of the ensuing melee between the two sides, Marquis Nanlong managed to escape yet again. Although Marquis Nanlong had been betrayed by his closest friend during this operation, he had indeed obtained the route map to Devilfall Valley. However, the treasure site Marquis Nanlong intended to reach involved two major obstacles. Along the mandatory route lay an obstruction known as the Northern Extreme Origin Light. To pass through it, one needed the yin-yang ring, a treasure that just so happened to be inside the jade box he had earlier thrown to Han Li. At the treasure site itself, there was a fire fiend beast, Huosha beast, of formidable strength standing guard. The flames it spewed were exceptionally terrifying. Marquis Nanlong had personally witnessed the might of Han Li's Ganlan ice flame. If Han Li could be brought along, the fire fiend beast would naturally pose no real problem. The difficulty was that the ghost spirit sect was hunting Marquis Nanlong across the world, leaving him completely unable to show himself openly. Moreover, Han Li had recently been tied up in a major war with the Molan spellcasters, making him impossible to contact. Through the previous concubine exchange incident, Marquis Nanlong discovered that Han Li seemed to care greatly about Mu Peiling. Thus he sought out another friend, Lu Weiying, and asked him to send a disciple to pretend to harass Mu Peiling. Unexpectedly, this disciple of Lu Weiying was anything but proper. After meeting Mu Peiling, he genuinely fell for her, and immediately began courting her in earnest. When Han Li learned of this, he was so furious that his face turned pale. His own concubine had not even fallen into his hands yet, and now a mere junior dared to set his sights on her. Han Li thus intended to teach the young man a lesson. Fortunately, Lu Weiying arrived in time, allowing his disciple to narrowly escape disaster. Under Lu Weiying's guidance, Han Li finally met Marquis Nanlong, who looked deathly pale, his severe injuries still far from healed. When the two invited Han Li to form a team, Han Li did not immediately agree. After all, both Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying were nearing the end of their lifespans, making Devilfall Valley an urgent gamble for them. Han Li, however, was different. He was only a little over 200 years old, and there was no pressing need for him to take such a risk. Yet two subsequent events left Han Li with no choice but to enter Devilfall Valley. Nangong Wan was ambushed by the Yin Yue sect, and Han Li learned that the inner core of a fire fiend beast could alleviate her condition. Devilfall Valley just so happened to contain such a beast. Through the ghost spirit sect, Zeeling learned that spirit candle fruit, long extinct in the outside world, still existed within Devilfall Valley. For these reasons, Han Li accepted Marquis Nanlong's invitation to team up. As for the ghost spirit sect, the reason they knew Devilfall Valley contained spirit candle fruit was because, during the previous operation at Immortal Master Kang Kun's cave abode, they had captured a fragmented soul incarnation of Immortal Master Kang Kun. Under coercive interrogation, they learned that Devilfall Valley housed a spirit herb garden. In order to seize a vast quantity of spirit herbs from it, they formulated a plan to enter the valley on a large scale. Marquis Nanlong, harboring deep hatred toward the ghost spirit sect, had been closely monitoring Wang Tiangu's movements. Using various clues, he deduced the sect's true intentions. Seeking revenge, he exposed the ghost spirit sect's plot regarding Devilfall Valley to the outside world. In the end, under pressure from all sides, the ghost spirit sect was forced to publicly open access qualifications for entering the valley. Thus, the large-scale instance of Devilfall Valley was officially opened. The Ancestor's Trap. After entering Devilfall Valley, the three Marquis Nanlong, Lu Weiying and Han Li discovered a vein of gang silver sand, a precious material used for artifact refinement. The moment Lu Weiying saw the vein, greed arose in his heart. Marquis Nanlong, however, pointed out that gang silver sand was extraordinarily hard, making it extremely difficult to mine. Moreover, with their lifespans nearing their limits, such external possessions were essentially meaningless to them. What the two of them urgently needed were spirit medicines that could extend longevity or advance cultivation. Otherwise, once their time ran out, they would amount to nothing more than piles of white bones. From these words alone, it was evident that Marquis Nanlong was a man of clear objectives and exceptional composure. After reaching the marked location, they discovered the remains of an ancient cultivator. In truth, this corpse itself was the primary objective of their journey. Within the cultivator's storage pouch, they found 2 spirit pills, 3 ancient treasures, and the refinement method for a heaven-connecting spirit treasure, the 7-flame fan. The 3-flame fan that Han Li later replicated ultimately traced its origins back to this method. Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying had come primarily for the spirit pills, and Han Li clearly understood their intentions. As such, he deliberately raised the stakes on the spot, emphasizing how crucial the pills were to him, and stating that losing them might cause him to miss a chance to advance another step in cultivation. Although the two were well aware of Han Li's maneuvering, after the Molan War, Han Li's reputation had already shaken the southern heavenly region, and they did not dare harbor thoughts of killing him to seize his treasures. In the end, not only did they hand over the 7-flame fan refinement method to Han Li, they also emptied all the spirit stones they carried, just to exchange for the 2 spirit pills. Once the division was complete, Han Li decisively departed. Only after Han Li had gone far away did Marquis Nanlong's true objective finally come to light. It turned out that as descendants of Immortal Master Cancun, a legend had always been passed down within their clan concerning the Blood Curse Gate. Although Marquis Nanlong did not know exactly what was sealed within it, it was certain that treasures and spirit fruits were abundant inside. It was precisely because their true target was the Blood Curse Gate that they had been so generous toward Han Li earlier. In truth, Han Li had already sensed that the two had ulterior motives. However, since he had an appointment with Ling to secure the spirit, candle fruit before the ghost spirit sect, and time was extremely tight, he chose to leave without delay. After Han Li departed with his group annihilating Halo, Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying followed the clues and finally located the Blood Curse Gate. Using Immortal Master Cancun's method to break the seal, they indeed found vast quantities of treasures and spirit fruits inside. There was even golden lightning bamboo, an item specially suited to suppress evil and demonic forces. With such tempting treasures before them, the atmosphere between the two subtly changed. Their positions shifted slightly apart without either saying a word. While breaking the restrictions and dividing the loot, they discovered that among the treasures, the round bowl appeared to be the most valuable. Marquis Nanlong immediately proposed that the spirit fruits be divided evenly, while he would take only one treasure. The round bowl and the remaining treasures could all go to Lu Weiying. Under normal circumstances, Lu Weiying would never have agreed. But after some thought, he reasoned that judging by the appearance of the round bowl, it likely sealed a powerful demonic creature. When Marquis Nanlong examined it, he would probably be injured by the demon inside. At that moment, Lu Weiying could strike from behind, and all the treasures of the Blood Curse Gate would become his alone. Thus he agreed. Marquis Nanlong had long since anticipated Lu Weiying's thoughts. Instead of exposing them, he played along and accepted the round bowl. However, the instant the round bowl entered his hands, he did not open it. Instead, he immediately affixed countless talismans to it. Just as Marquis Nanlong was congratulating himself on his strategy and preparing to divide the spirit fruits, he suddenly discovered that the spirit fruits had vanished. At the same time, the talismans on the round bowl began to ignite spontaneously. At the moment, Marquis Nanlong was about to activate a secret technique. A stream of black light shot out from the round bowl and instantly burrowed into his head, parasitizing him. After a single miserable scream, Marquis Nanlong was seized. Thus, the ancient devil officially emerged. Within just a few exchanges, Lu Weiying's nascent soul was devoured alive by the ancient devil. A tragic ending. In truth, Marquis Nanlong had fallen into the ancient devil's trap from the very beginning. And this trap had been laid since the time of his ancestor, Immortal Master Cancun. Immortal Master Cancun had indeed entered Devilfall Valley, but while inside he was possessed by a soul splinter of the ancient devil. After devouring Cancun, the soul splinter became extremely weak and lacked the strength to continue, breaking the seal of the Blood Curse Gate. Thus it left Devilfall Valley, deliberately leaving behind a last testament concerning the Blood Curse Gate within the clan. At the same time, it planted the map and clues in Cancun's cave abode, waiting for future descendants to use human means to break the seal. The Tai Miao divine formation outside Cancun's cave abode effectively functioned as a filter. If a descendant's strength was insufficient, they would not even qualify to be deceived. And with Marquis Nanlong's cultivation, He had just barely passed the ancient devil's screening mechanism. Looking back on Marquis Nanlong's life, he endured the betrayal of his closest friend, survived Han Li's group-annihilating halo, yet ultimately failed to escape the deep pit left behind by his own ancestor. He was cautious, clear-minded, and goal-oriented. Yet these very strengths only made his final outcome all the more tragic.